So what is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl JD here, back with another video, and today we're going to be doing a quick recap of the Real Housewives of Potomac season 8. We're going to be talking about their reunion. I didn't really feel like making any videos with regards to the actual season because there wasn't really much going on, and I pretty much think I did a good job summing up into a few points what happened this entire season. We're going to talk about that in this video. So they start off this reunion. They're basically saying that they're trying to start it off in the spirit of, I guess, moving forward and maybe having the ladies squash all their beefs. But one of the very first relationships, or lack thereof, in terms of a friendship, that ends up being brought up is Gizelle and Candace. So if you guys remember in the previous season, Gizelle basically said that Candace's husband, Chris, in the previous reunion before the last season, so basically 2 seasons ago, she was saying that he had asked her to come into this room, this hotel room. They were getting ready for the reunion, or maybe this was a break in between, and he made her feel uncomfortable because it was just him and her in the room and they were just talking, and it was just kind of like, I feel weird that it's just me and you, right? So Gizelle kind of makes this into a bigger thing than I think probably what actually happened, even though I don't want to obviously assume, but it's sounding like she just felt uncomfortable because they were alone talking in the hotel room, but he didn't actually do anything to physically make her feel uncomfortable. So that was kind of the big thing. Candace had also said some things in last season's reunion about her being light-skinned and how she has this privilege, and because she's light-skinned she could say or do whatever she wants. I don't really care for Gizelle on this show, I'm just going to be honest. It just was coming across as like this kind of colorist conversation, and even though yes, she might have a point, it just felt as though it was kind of out of place, but I understood where she was coming from. But yeah, eventually we find out from Gizelle that because of that, she started getting death threats and DMs of death threats from people, random people. It just hasn't been such a great reaction, right? But eventually Candace does apologize for that, at least. But Gizelle doesn't really take anything back. She does not apologize for anything, how she worded anything or made anything seem, how she made Chris out to be kind of like a predator. And it just really obviously did a number on him, but he doesn't really want to talk about it anymore. And I don't blame him. I would just want to move on from that situation. But I could see how that impacted him, and also how people would also interact with him as well, because a lot of people watch this show. You could see that they're never going to be on the same accord, never going to be friends, never going to be good again. But at least they could apologize to each other. Well, at least Candace apologized. Gizelle didn't really do much of any apology, really. Either way, we're gonna move on. Like Andy said, they need Jesus with that situation. I wouldn't really blame Candace if she doesn't want Gizelle in her life, because I don't really care for Gizelle, I'm just gonna be honest. But we find out that Gizelle's father passed away from brain cancer. We found that out in the last set of episodes in the show. Unfortunately, he did pass away, and you could tell that she was definitely a daddy's girl, very close to her dad. What I found was very strange about that moment, you could see her getting emotional, but Candace was also getting emotional because she felt, you know, very empathetic towards Gizelle's situation. And for some reason, when Andy was asking Candace why she was crying, obviously everybody on that side of the room were like, she just feels empathetic towards the situation. She feels bad for Gizelle losing her dad. And Gizelle just comes out of nowhere and just like, oh, the tears, even when it's not about you, or something like that. And I'm like, Gizelle, what? Like, it was just so weird. I'm like, she feels empathy for your situation, and she feels bad that you lost your dad. She feels that emotion for you, and all of a sudden it's a problem. Like, Gizelle's spirit in this reunion is so off and weird and tainted. I don't know what's going on with her, but ugh, like, it's just an ew situation. Now, Candace and Robin also try to discuss what's been going on with them, because it kind of started from the Chris situation with Gizelle, and I guess Candace felt as though Robin was being fake and she didn't actually really support her and Chris in this situation, and she was supporting Gizelle. And I just don't know where things really went left with them, to be real. But I do know that Candace needs to stop playing as though she didn't do anything to ruin their friendship, because she literally would go on these shows and talk to people about Robin and say how she's fake, she's this, she's that, and all these negative things, and keeps pretending as though she never said them. She doesn't know what Robin is talking about. And I'm just like, girl, let's not keep acting delusional. I like Candace, but there are moments where I'm just like, girl, like, come on now. So yeah, basically that was one of those moments. But she continues to kind of act that way on the reunion, but she does apologize eventually. But what gets me about these women is that when they do apologize, instead of just saying, I'm sorry for doing this or saying this, they would always be like, well, I'm sorry that you felt this way. If I did anything to offend you, you know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my part to play in how you felt, instead of just saying I'm sorry for this, right? It's just like this roundabout way of trying to sort of apologize. But anyways, so Robin, you could see, is still having this difficulty of really accepting the apology, but Robin also had said some things about Candace as well, so now Candace is stuck on that too. But also we found out that on the Reasonably Shady podcast that Robin has with Giselle, that they brought up this whole thing with this crazed fan basically saying that Chris had impregnated her. She basically gotten rid of the child. It was just really crazy, but we end up finding out from her that she'd made it all up. So yeah, but Robin was saying that this woman had sent them a picture of Chris's you-know-what part, and I was like, wait, what? So apparently there were some screenshots, right, according to Robin, and also I think Giselle had confirmed seeing them as well. But Robin was saying, yeah, so you're not going to talk about the screenshots. Candace was like, what screenshots are you talking about? But of course they're not going to show those screenshots on television. It was just a really interesting situation. Like, why are you talking about this woman's husband on your podcast? You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I understand, you know, because obviously Candace was talking about Robin as well, but I don't think that relationship is going to resolve anytime soon. But let's move on to Mia and Gordon. So Mia and Gordon are now separated because of what's been going on with Gordon. We end up finding out that he actually has been diagnosed as bipolar. Whenever he's in his manic states, according to him and Mia, he would do a lot of things that it was like, okay, I don't know if I could live with this, you know, because he wouldn't take his medication, and there was just a lot going on with that relationship, and I could totally understand why Mia is just like, yeah, you know, I'm good. But we end up finding out that Mia had actually been seeing this DJ guy, or whatever the heck he calls himself, some type of personality. Basically, he could possibly be the father to the son, basically her son, and that Gordon pretty much just kind of raised this son as his own, but he knew that more than likely this wasn't his child. But according to him, he said that he also knew about this whole little thing that she had going on with this other guy, but they still decided to get married anyway, and she had still kept seeing him while they were married or something like that. But eventually she kind of, you know, cut it off. But yeah, that relationship is really, it's so weird. But you could see that Gordon is kind of accepting that Mia is leaving the marriage. And now they're trying to figure out, obviously, in terms of the kids, how they're going to work that out. But yeah, that relationship is so weird. He's cordial and actually kind of nice to this new man in Mia's life, or the same man from the beginning. She's just reigniting that relationship. It's so weird. But then after all of this is when we start talking about the whole situation that went down between Deborah and Candace, and also her friend. I'm gonna call her Kay because I don't know how to say her actual name. Is it Kiana or Kayana? I don't know. Anyways, so for some reason, Ashley, I don't know if she likes to just be messy or if she just does things and doesn't really know what she's doing, but it is coming across as very messy. But she brings Deborah to the launch of her clothing line with Giselle called GNA. They have their fashion show. And after the cameras go down, that's when we hear that there's a little bit of a argument going on between Candace and Deborah. And Deborah kind of approaches Candace and says, like, do you have some things to say to me? And Candace is just like, absolutely not. Like, can y'all come and get the help? She starts calling her the help, and that's when things go all the way left. That's when I think Deborah had threw a glass at Kay because Kay was trying to break up the situation, and Kay was kind of stuck in the middle. She ends up getting hit in the head with the glass. It cuts her on her forehead, and you could see when the cameras come back up, she's trying to stop some bleeding on her head, and Deborah ends up getting escorted out. Candace is holding this bottle, and I'm just like, what is going on? It's just chaotic. But Giselle had already left at the time, so only Ashley was left there to try and figure out what the heck was going on and who actually started things. But either way, Kay had to be rushed off in the ambulance to go get checked out, and I think Karen had ended up going with her, but Wendy and Candace was still kind of talking to Ashley, and it was just a really interesting situation. But while on the reunion, when they were talking about it, Ashley was trying to apologize to Kay, and Kay wasn't really accepting it because she was just like, I feel like Ashley is just the queen of apologies after the fact and not really during. But the thing is, it's just like, how is she really supposed to like really express herself in that moment of things happening when it's her friend that she invited attacking you? What do you want her to do? Not apologize? Like, I don't know, because then you probably have an issue with that as well. So Ashley was just kind of stuck in that moment, honestly, but ain't nothing you could do about someone's reaction. If they feel a ways about how you do things, then it's just kind of whatever. But I do think that they're probably going to bring Kay on for this next season because there has been a lot of shifting. So Nneka has been fired. She's not going to be coming back. She might actually be going to Married to Medicine. Apparently they had reached out to her prior to Real Housewives, but she decided to go with Real Housewives. I think she obviously would have been a better fit on Married to Medicine than Real Housewives, if I'm going to be real. Also, Robin is leaving. She claims that it was because Bravo didn't invite her back, so basically she gotten fired. I don't know. But honestly, they could have let go of Giselle because I don't really want to see her in another season. That's who's leaving. But Wendy also now has her podcast, the Dr. Wendy Show. That seems to be doing okay. And lastly, we find out that Candace is also not returning, and she also made an announcement along with her husband Chris that they're expecting their first child together, and I'm so ecstatic for her. I'm so excited because that's something that she's been saying that she's wanted for a good while now. So I'm really happy for her and excited to see their expansion of their family. But that's pretty much it for the Real Housewives of Potomac for season 8. I honestly feel like this is probably one of the most boring seasons ever. I'm just going to be so real. It was so boring. They didn't really have much to talk about, so I was able to sum up everything into just like a few points. But y'all let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.